So the other day, one of the guys that I get my logs from gave me a call that morning and said he had something that I might be interested in. I said, sure, why not? So that afternoon, he showed up to the shop and brought me something that I rarely ever get to work with. He brought me this huge cherry burl. Now, like I said, burls are something that I rarely ever get to work with, so I was really excited to see this thing. However, the catch with it was that he wasn't entirely sure how the quality of the burl actually was. It could be rotted, it could be solid, he wasn't sure, and given how it looks, who knows? So that's what we're doing today. I'm going to get the chainsaw. We're going to find out just how good this is. And I guess if you're seeing this video, then I may have made something from it. How good that something is to be determined, but let's find out. Also, I am using a microphone specifically for my talking parts for this video. Very first time I've ever tried this. I usually just use a mic on my camera. So let me know what you think. Well, the burl is looking pretty solid overall. This half over here, I'm still a little leery because I'll show it once I cut it, but there is a hole on the bottom side here, and it looks like there's some rot or some ant damage. I'm not sure, but I'll show it once I cut it. So right now, what I think I'm going to do is just cut it straight in half because this half over here looks pretty solid, and I think I should be able to get a really nice natural edge bowl out of it, or we'll see how this ant damage on the inside looks. Maybe that might make a cool shape as well. Who knows? I've done a walnut bowl with some ant damage. Turned out really nice, so we'll see. But anyways, the plan as of now is just to cut it in half, get one nice solid bowl blank from this side, and then we'll see how that hole is on this side, and if I can get one smaller one out of that, then we'll do that as well. Well, I went ahead and got the bowl blank rounded out with the chainsaw. Ended up doing about a 13-inch diameter size here. Think that's a really good size for the burl. I probably could have got a little bit more out of it if I would have used my bandsaw here. However, my bandsaw is not the greatest when it comes to rounding out bowl blanks, and more specifically large bowl blanks like this. So I just tend to do or use a chainsaw with that. I find that it's a little bit faster, even though I'm not maximizing the absolute most out of it. Either way, for a burl this size, I'm really happy. I'm not complaining at all. I'm excited to see how this is going to turn. But speaking of that, how I'm going to mount this on the lathe, I think I'm going to try and use my giant wormwood screw, aka my old thread adapter. I did a video talking about that. Really what it is I just have an old thread adapter that I used on my benchtop lathe, and I've just turned it into a giant wormwood screw. But anyways, that's all it is. And I think that's what I'm going to use for this one. However, if that doesn't work, I will go to a 4-prong drop center, and then if all else fails, I'll just use my old faceplate for this one. So anyways, I'm gonna grab the drill and get that taken care of. Now, typically I would use a Forstner bit to do this part here just to clean up the top part so the thread adapter has something a little bit more solid to sit against. However, with this wood being so gnarly and just kind of all over the place, I decided the Arbortech bowl gouge or ball gouge would be better suited for this job. Like I said, it's just to clean up the top of the area up here just so it's a little bit more stable. So anyways, let's get this thing on the lathe. Exactly what I was worried about. There's not enough grit there or wood there to really hold on to it. So I guess I'm going to use my faceplate. That seems like the best option. So, but I've got to clean up the top here a little bit more. So let's take care of that. All right, y'all, wish me luck. Funny enough, the one thing I'm nervous or hesitant about with this piece is not the stability or anything like that. It's the ants. I really don't feel like getting my arm ate up today. As of now, everything has seemed fine, but you never know with this kind of wood. So let's find out. All right, y'all, the outside is all but done. Just a few things though before I flip it around. For starters, I ended up having to turn away a lot more than I initially planned. This top portion right here was practically an island, the whole initial shaping. And so to make sure it had a pretty solid connection here to the rest of the bowl, I ended up, it felt like I turned away a lot more than I thought I would need to. But it has a pretty stable connection now. However, I don't trust it 100%, so I may run some thin CA glue through here to help stabilize that just that much more. Second of all, the height difference between the lowest portion and the highest portion of the edge is quite extreme. And it's pretty intimidating turning natural edge bolts that have that much of a difference. I've done it quite a few times in the past, but they're still pretty intimidating. So I'll have to take my time with that. It should be all right, but with it being a Burl, you know, there is that kind of sense of fragility with it, yeah. Anyways, and then third of all, I guess, For something that I've been doing when I want these bowls to have smaller bottoms on them, something I've been doing the past few months is once I get done with the initial turning, I will remount it with a jam chuck and take the number 3 or number 4 jaws, whatever I have on the bottom, and turn them down to a number 2, because when the bowl dries, all I'm doing is sanding. I'm not doing any sort of returning. So, that helps get rid of this big chunk of wood down here at the bottom to help alleviate any cracking. And 2, it allows me to reshape the bowl before it actually warps. I've done it once it's dry. It's not too bad, but something like this, again, with the Fragile, I want to make sure it's as stable as I can get it. So anyways, guys, I'm going to get this thing flipped around and let's keep it rolling. It's not the stability or anything like that. Everything looks fine, so let's get it back on. Well, y'all, I'm not even going to beat around the bush. That was frustrating. Once it flew off there, I could not get this thing stabilized to save my life. It didn't matter what I tried. I readjusted the pressure on the jaws, tried to stabilize the tenon with CA glue. I did everything that I knew how to do, and I just could not get it right to save my life. And because of that, because of the wobble, the walls are pretty uneven. One side is definitely thicker than the other. Luckily, it's not so much so that I probably can't fix it with some 80 grit sandpaper once the bowl dries, but it's one of those things that I prefer just to do it right, as you're turning, not relying on sandpaper to fix. But anyways, at the end of the day, got it done. I stuck with it. I'm sorry I didn't film so much there after it did fly off. I just wanted to focus on making sure it didn't fly off again and getting it right, or getting it done. So anyways, guys, I'm wore out. I'm exhausted. I'm gonna go get this thing put away for drying, and I will see y'all in about 4 to 5 weeks. Well, y'all, the inside is sanded and it's ready to be flipped around. But first, just wanted to say that this bowl is finally starting to grow on me. If you couldn't tell from when I turned it, I was frustrated. I was a lot more frustrated than I actually let on. Multiple reasons. For starters, obviously, with it flying off and everything. But second, and probably more importantly, I really feel like I could have got a lot more out of this piece, or the wood specifically. And I don't mean that I magically make more wood appear, but I did start with a pretty big bowl blank. And, you know, at first I needed to turn away more to make that little island of wood that I talked about. I wanted it to be connected, and it ended up having to turn more wood away to get that connected, which is okay. I mean, that happens. But outside of that, I think I should have, I rushed the process, and I did not take my time. I was more concerned of getting the video filmed and getting done versus maximizing and making the most of the burl. And I really should have went at it with a different mindset, because burls are something I never work with. And I mean, I wish I did. Last burl that I did, and ironically it was a cherry burl, was I helped my grandfather cut down a cherry tree near his garden that was dying. It surprisingly had a burl on it, and I was able to turn 2 bowls from it, two burl bowls, beautiful bowls. And sadly, my grandfather ended up passing away shortly after that. And I was able to turn those, for one from my mom, and I kept one because, you know, I don't really keep much, but that was one bowl I was definitely not getting rid of. But before I start crying, that, like I said, that was 8 years ago. And I think that was the last time I turned any burl. I might be missing 1 or 2, but it's really not often. And so because of that, because of just that rarity with this, I should have taken more time with it. But it is growing on me. I was able to fix that kind of wall thickness problem that I was talking about. But again, that's something I want to do the first time, you know, the correct when I'm turning it. I want to get right as I'm doing it, not relying on sandpaper to fix it. But you know, things happen. Luckily, you know, when it flew off, nothing broke. I'm still getting a very pretty bowl out of it, so I'm happy with that. But I don't know. It's growing on me. I just know this whole time, you know, full transparency, this whole time I've been severely disappointed with this bowl and kind of how it turned out. But as I'm finishing it, it's starting to grow on me, which seems to always work out that way for some reason. But either way, like I said, I wish I would have got more out of the wood with it, because I don't know when the next time I'll turn a burl will be. But either way, it is what it is. I'm glad I was able to get something out of it and it didn't just shatter when it flew off. So anyways, I'm gonna get this thing flipped around so we can get the outside finished, because I've already raised the grain. I didn't show it because I want to keep that a surprise, but I'm ready to get some oil in this thing. So anyways, I'm gonna take care of that and I will check back in. Well, if you've made it this far, thank you so much for joining me today. I really do appreciate it. And when I reveal the bowl here in a second, please be sure to leave a comment and let me know what you think. I'd be curious to know y'all's thoughts on it, because ultimately, it's like I said earlier, it has grown on me. I've come to like the bowl. However, I would change one main thing about it if I could do it over again, and that is the extremity, I hope that's a word, of the high and low of the edge. It sits just fine. However, if you don't make sure it sits flat, then of course it's top heavy, so it wants to roll over. So if I could do it over again, I probably would make the height difference a little bit more subtle, but outside of that, I am happy with it. I wish the process could have gone a little bit smoother, but that's how life is sometimes. But like I said, I want to know y'all's thoughts. So anyways, I'm not going to keep any more of y'all's time. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to hit that like button. And if you enjoy this kind of woodworking video, please be sure to subscribe to the channel. So anyways, y'all, I'll see you next time.